You're muted. You're muted.
The whole thing. You really go that long without saying it? I just saw you shaking.
I said it. You didn't. You kept
I didn't hear
going.
you. I didn't hear you. North South Connection. Welcome in to Wrestling Warzone and Monday Wars podcast retrospective series. I'm JC. Joining me as ever, my partner Chad. This podcast is simulcast on audio on all podcast applications for those cowards at Spotify and video on YouTube, as well as our absolutely free Patreon at Wrestling Warzone, where we have some exclusive content. But the biggest thing that you get out of this is you can live watch as we record and share your comments. We'll read them along the way. We already got some patrons in the group, which we appreciate. We got Bruni, we got Ryan Everett. So we're off to a good start as well. We'll see as others pop in. And I was looking at how the ring light looks like I have like googly eyes inside these sunglasses. So
Yeah, those look kind of weird. Yeah,
it's going to distract me, I think, the whole time. But as you can tell by our theme here, it is Bash at the Beach nights, Bash at the Beach 1997, Chad. But before we dive in, how are you?
I'm good. You get blasted by Grudy, so that's always a good start. Off and running there. Yeah, I thought I was potting with Sabu. Had to get your spots in, even though it was yeah. And maybe I don't know what's going on because last episode I was all gimmicked up. Doesn't feel good. That's the only podcast I think I've ever recorded that I don't remember. I have no memory of doing that show whatsoever. So.
You got it through. It was your flu game. So I think
my Scott Hall podcast
so I do have a funny story for you to start with before we get into the paper.
Okay.
And you'll like this one because you know the players involved. So we went to Saratoga this weekend for the Travers horse race. Now, I'd never been to a horse race or a horse race, as Keith would say. And so we got there early. It was me, the family, and then the Sarge and his family, and then Vic and his family. So I roll in around 8:30 with Sarge and Vic. We get the tailgate spot set up. We're there for the day, drinking away, betting, having a good time. And as we're going, Sarge's wife's like, "Oh, there's like gimmick bets you can do." So it's like the pick 5, and if you hit all 5, like the pot's like $600,000 or whatever, right? So I do that. We hit the first 2, we lose, and then they do this grand slam bet, and you have to pick the next 4 races, and if you pick the winners, like you get better odds, and you have to have the winner of the last race of the 4, but the other ones you just have to finish 1, 2, 3. So me and Sarge both did our own picks, and we both picked the same exact ones without talking. So we're like, "Oh, this is a good sign." So we put the bets in, hit the first horse, right? So now we're like, "All right, well, let's hit the second one." We're like, "All right, we're feeling good." Hit the third one, and now we're like, "Oh shit!" We're watching these on the screen because you can kind of go in and out of the track. We're watching these on the screen. We're like, "We got to go in for the big race for the last one." So now we're thinking we're gonna win like some decent money. It's a pick 4. The other one is, $500,000 pot. So we're thinking, all right, like this could be something. So we go in, we're nervous, I'm pacing around. We're like thinking like, and the horse we have is a big favorite. It's like 3 to 5. So we're like, we're feeling good, but we're nervous. So we're on the fence of the race. We're all there. We're fired up. Race starts. Horse is behind, catches up, wins easy. We're losing our shit. Like fucking hugging, punching. Vic karate chopped me across the back of the neck like fucking Greg the Hammer Valentine. I had like a migraine for an hour after. We were taking pictures. People are probably thinking we won like hundreds of $1,000 the way we're celebrating. I mean, we were just going fucking ape shit.
Right.
So we're clutching the tickets. We go inside to the window, go to the pay window. And my first time, I think, literally at a pay window. And I give her the ticket. And I'm like, I hit all 4 winners of the Grand Slam. She goes, "Wow, like that's impressive. Like, it's hard to get the winners." So I'm like really like, oh yeah, like, hundreds of dollars, whatever it's going to be. You want to take
they have to break over the manager or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking like, I'm going to get the check or something. You want to take?
It's always good when they like, "Can you come here to verify that this?" Yeah,
they did not verify. You want to guess how much we won?
I'm guessing about $30.
$7.
Yeah, I mean, well, Sovereignty. I'm assuming.
No, that was the 4 before the Travers, so it didn't include the Travers.
Oh, so that includes, yeah. I mean, all of them were pretty big favorites. So, yeah,
that was the thing, which I wasn't realizing, like those, because that pick 5 thing was different because that was based on Yes, it was like Cousin Brian and Pie Mai.
Yes.
I was looking for Pie Mai. I couldn't find him. But it was, I thought it was going to be like that kind of pot where it was like progressive and it built. I wasn't factoring in the odds. So she goes, oh, you won 7. I go, 7 what? And she goes, dollars. I look at Sarge, just puts his head down. I'm like, what a gut punch. And it didn't help too that my head was pounding from Vic's fucking superstar Billy Graham 1985 karate thrust. I do have a video.
That was like a little kid. I got all 4. It's like, yeah. Okay, but
we're so excited. I have a video of us losing it at the race, and you can see the karate chop for Vic's lost under away.
The exacta, that's the tough stuff because then you got to get
right.
One race exact order.
Well, so I did on one, but I didn't box it. So I had it was my first time going, so now I know. But I did hit the 3. I bet all 3. And what I told them after was like, we just weren't thinking. What we should have done was put like $50 on the first race, and if they won, just rolled it. And I'm like, we would have done way better. I did bet each horse. Like I had actually ended up for the day, not a lot, but I didn't lose money on the day, so that was good. I won like $20 on the day. So, but I just didn't want to lose money. That was my goal.
Sounds like the cowboy at the cruise.
Yeah, well, I was having visions of that. I even messaged him. I'm like, I just hit the. He's like, that could be big. False information from him too. He's like, that could be a big one. He had me all hyped up. I messaged him.
Yeah.
I'm like, the Grand Slam.
Well, I mean, you think like if there was a big upset, like with I don't know why it's always like I usually pay attention actually a lot to the Kentucky Derby for some reason and then immediately eject out. So I always remember with like Charismatic with the Kentucky Derby, he was like a 30, if they're 30-1 or something like that, that's you're getting 60-1 there. Or $60 there on a $2 ticket, but
yeah, I'll share. This is one GIF Vic's wife did for us here. This was I pull it up.
Did you have that hat that you wore, or was that purchased for this?
I got that at yeah, I got that at Punta Cana. They gave us the free hats or whatever. All right, so here's the. This is I think the 3rd race.
Oh my Lord!
Loser. So there you go. That was
excited. Yeah,
yeah,
for your $7. How like pricey is? Like the concessions and stuff.
They were
not as bad as you think.
No, they were no different than like going to the PC game or something. I don't know. Like a beer is probably like $13 or something. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't crazy, but we since we tailgated, like we brought a lot of stuff, so we didn't really buy much. I think we got like a pizza for the kids, and then I got they actually had a Dole Whip, so I got that. But yeah, no, they didn't have we didn't have to spend too much on it. So
I got my master's rejection email last week again, so still over on that. 20 years
next year.
That's got to be. I can't imagine like that is like one of the toughest lotteries. Has to be to just like a generic.
How many do they select each time?
I mean, I would say it's got to be less than 1% get, in it because they usually only have like, probably time you put in the patrons that are grandfathered in, there's probably only like 5,000 to 10,000, tickets up for grabs, and I would guess they could have 100,000 requests. You can only do it per household though, so it's there is a house from Rhode Island that requests every year. I'll just let you know that. So.
How many you put in?
I put in like 3 or 4. But put in like my grandparents, like my dad too. My dad's actually won once, but you also have to be selective too, because it's one of those where like you can't. Like you got to decide. Like you definitely have a better chance for like a practice round But then if you get that, you can't get anything else, So it's like, do you really go for it, or do you? Because you have to prioritize your request as well.
Here's the
that's that. God,
that's after the race right there. That's where we thought we had it.
Yeah.
Number ones.
All
right. Why don't we go ahead and dive in to Bash of the Beach? Let's get rolling here. Why don't you get us going?
Yeah, this kind of ends our pretty big stretch for us, as we talked about, because we had that June 30th show that Nitro especially had been hyping up for like a month, and the Canadian Stampede, which was a big show going in, but I'd say even like historically kind of is probably bigger now, just from the historical significance and the magnitude that people, like the high esteem people, hold that one in. I thought a pretty interesting Raw Nitro afterwards. On the Nitro side, you had the memorable La Parka DDP segment, which is, as we go through all-time Nitro moments, that's one of those like sneaky ones that could be, probably top 20 all-time, like if you want to do a full-on ranking. And now we get to this show, which this show has been, teased since March. I mean, since Rodman and Hogan and Bischoff or whatever went to that premiere and did that video from like New York or whatever with Rodman in March. They've kind of been heading towards this show. And it's from the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. And let's just, I kind of want to get the crowd out of the way first.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the second year here. And I know the title of the show is Bash at the Beach, so that kind of locks them in a little bit.
Right.
But this is around a 10,000 seat arena, because it's right next to a convention center. It's basically the arena of a convention center. So I mean, they're at capacity, but it's not a large arena. And we'll get to, I have pretty big issues with this crowd. I think this is one of the more casual, bad crowds we've had. And this is one of my bigger problems, I think, in general, with Bischoff and his running order of operations is it's Bash at the Beach, so it has to be a beach location.
Right.
I don't know
this
why.
One in Chicago would have been crazy.
Right. Put it in the United Center. I mean, say, is it there? I don't know. Like, I know it's like Michigan or whatever, but say it's like North Beach in Chicago. I mean, whatever. Like,
you can still do a beach setup in the fucking arena. Like,
yeah, it just seems, it seems.
Or you could have called it Quake at the Lake, which like Herb Coons kept saying it was going to be called or whatever.
Right. So it's that, but even beyond that, like we talked about it, like that June 30th Las Vegas crowd wasn't the best either, and they love going back to Vegas. They're going back there for Halloween Havoc. Starcade's always starting in '97 in Washington D.C. of all places for the next like 3 or 4 years. It perplexes me that right now we're not in like Atlanta, or we're not in Greensboro, or one of these like hotbed.
This should have been in
towns.
Chicago, and there's no question about it. I mean, you got Rodman, unless they don't want. I mean, right? Do they kind of maybe not want Rodman and Hogan to get cheered? I guess
maybe, but whatever. And
then put it in Atlanta, like you said. Then you'll get
Hogan.
some better heat on Rodman and Hogan, and you get cheering for Luger if you're in Atlanta.
Anywhere. I would.
Salt Lake City might have been good because they would have been pissed at Rodman coming off the finals.
Because I did a little research, and even like 2 years, so they're here this year. Let me look at '98, because '99, I fell asleep to that last night. That show.
Grooney,
if we make it that far, watch out.
Starcade '96 was Nashville, Grooney, but then it is DC after that.
Then it's DC after. I mean, the next year they're in San Diego, so I mean, that's something too. Like even West Coast, I don't really know that crowd, but 99's in Fort Lauderdale, and they have like 13,000 at that show. So we're by July '99, the wheels are falling off fast, and they still have more than this attendance. And just from optics, it looks like a bigger arena.
And they could have done this in LA too, because they just have the big LA show.
Yeah. It just seems weird that in Nitro it's been like Fleet Center, Chicago, that big Saturday Night Nitro in LA, Las Vegas, and then for the big pay-per-view, it's like we're at the Ocean Center, Daytona Beach. I mean, yeah, it's a beach, but it's not. I mean, even at the pinnacle of championship wrestling from Florida, Daytona Beach was never the place. So,
right, they could put this in Tampa, probably even.
yeah, any Tampa, Miami. If they had to do beach setting in Florida, I'd go with those two. So that ran aside. This does have, I think, one of the best sets of all time.
Yeah,
it is an amazing set, and just makes me miss those type of sets now because I really can't. Like, I know the WrestleMania set, they look cool. That's really the only one that I think, and that's obviously like a bigger, like if you compare production budgets, I'm sure it's.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But even then though, like I prefer this because this looks like somebody had a lot of care and time. I mean, this is just some of my favorite theme sets of all time. So we get the generic kind of opening showing the build to the tag match. They really highlight in Chicago when Rodman and Hogan were on top of that beatdown. Tony lets us know that this is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's Tony, Bobby, and Dusty on the call like usual here, and Tenay hopping in and out. I think he did 3 matches. Tony and Bobby, of course, in their Hawaiian shirts, looking great. Dusty couldn't bother with the Hawaiian shirt, although he does have the lay on, so I guess that's good enough. But pretty low effort for Big Dust here. I he seems like an Hawaiian shirt guy.
Yeah, he's got to have 1 or 2 in there.
Yeah, so I don't know. Bobby doesn't know who the mystery partner will be, but he kind of almost spoils that it's going to be hitting. So he starts out right out of the gate with that. That sort of retcons.
Mr. Perfect while he was at it.
Yeah. Then says, well, it could be Raymond. And then he throws out Sabisco. Says, I haven't seen Sabisco. So, which I guess makes sense with how him and Hall really went after it in the finale for
Night. Yeah. You could see that as an option, the way they teased it for sure.
I actually think they might have done that a week before as more of a tease. But yeah, so we get our opening match. It's a Blood Runs Cold tag. It's Wrath and Mortis versus Glacier and Ernest Miller. This is Ernest Miller's debut here. Today's in for this one. Big brawl to start it out. Glacier takes Mortis down with some fists to a big pop. I like that to kind of show that, he's not using the karate open head strikes or the kicks. He's, pissed off. So he's using his fists to get the advantage. Raph comes in, distracts Glacier. That allows the cat to hit a good looking springboard kick. And so really nice opening shine sequence. Then we get to the heat segment, which I love this spot. Did not remember this one. This looked great. So they kind of spill to the outside, and Raph holds up Glacier against the post with a chair, and Mortis hits a kick to the chair that looks like it absolutely wallops Glacier. Makes an amazing sound. I don't know if it was protected or not, but it looked nasty on that. And then Raph takes him over with some big power spots. I thought this was the best Raph has looked maybe ever. I don't know if there's any Adam Bob hidden gems somewhere.
No,
but
I think that maybe Slomka can dig one up for us, but I think it's probably low odds.
But I thought he looked great here. The double team moves that him and Mortis were using looked great. They do a kind of assisted power bomb neck breaker combo. Crowd's hot is, up for this one. So there you go. And I thought it was interesting. I know that, this is Ernest Miller's kind of first go, but to have Glacier as the face of peril, I mean, we haven't seen him taking hardly any damage at all. So this was a different wrinkle. That's something I've been harping on, is that in this gimmick overall, it feels like Glacier and his friends have kind of had the upper hand on Vandenberg's crew too much, and made them look pretty jobbery. It really reminds me a lot of the Von Erich stuff in Texas, where like Devastation Incorporated has all this threat, and then they come in and get beat by the Von
Right, they
Erichs.
lose every
Like,
time.
all right,
Yeah.
well, so we get to our finish here where Mortis misses a moonsault. Glacier comes over, but it's really a hope spot as Raph comes in again to cut that off. Cat has enough of that. He wastes both of them with big kicks, and Raph takes a like flip over back bump, which looked great. Glacier hits his DDT on Mortis, but Vanderberg puts the legs on the ropes, and then he wraps the chain around Mortis's foot. And as Vandenberg distracts the referee, he's grabbed by Glacier, and Glacier gives him the psiotic kick, which is that's something they've been building to a while too.
Mm-hmm.
So that felt like a big spot. And, but then as he turns around, Mortis is able to hit him with the chain assisted boot and gets the win. So the undefeated streak is over here. I would say in kind of pretty somewhat shocking fashion. Could see them lose, but I think most would have had Miller taking the pin here. So really fun match. I think this is one of the more. I've probably been higher on this feud, I think, in ring than you might think, but I think this is one of the more shockingly fun openers you'll see, where it's around 10 minutes. It's all action, has good heat. Really creative and good finish that meant something. I mean, in the confines of WCW, this was a big loss because it's been something that's been built towards for, at least 6 months or so. So I went a 3 1/4 here. I really enjoyed this one.
It's a really fun opener. The energy was great. The crowd, I know later we maybe have some issues, but I thought in this match they were pretty into it.
They're good here.
The structure was good. I like the innovative offense of Mortis and Wrath. They've really grown together. Like I thought Wrath looked like a star in this match as he opened up the playbook a bit. And we know Canyon's a really good worker and innovative offensive worker. And I think that's probably helped a little bit with Wrath's offense growing, is just teaming with this guy, week after week, night after night in the circuit or whatever, working together. I think that's probably helped him quite a bit. Cat stayed in his lane. He hit his kicks. Glacier had some good fire. And I like the finish where Vandenberg finally pulls one off. And I think this is a good spot for Glacier to lose. Like you talked about this on multiple shows. Like winning streaks are cool, but if you're not going to commit to the guy to become like a champion, they're aimless. Like the worst one's Tatanka. Like guys get title shots left or right. That fucking guy's undefeated for like a year and a half and never gets a title match. Like it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, so for Glacier, if you're not going to elevate him up and you want to keep him in this world, giving him a loss makes a lot of sense. And I think they pick a good time to do it, to give Mortis and Wrath the win on pay-per-view. I thought this was a perfect opener. Outkicked this coverage. I went 3 1/4 as well. I was really surprised, but it's definitely worth going out of your way to rewatch. It was a lot of fun.
Our chat gives us some Wrath Adam Bomb contenders match here. Marty Sleeve says Chronic sucked in Japan. I can concur with that. Watched a pretty dreadful Goldberg match from the January 4th, 2003 Tokyo Dome show not too long ago. Ryan Everett always liked Wrath Meeg at Halloween Havoc 98. I do remember that being pretty fun.
We'll get to that
and then according to Cage Match, the best Wrath match is Wrath and Mortis versus Ming and Barbarian on the September 14th, 97 Nitro. So we got that one coming up. And then singles is Adam Bob versus 123 Kid on an episode of Superstars, which sounds about right because I'm sure Waltman was able to bump well.
I actually kind of remember that match too. I think that's around when Quang like spews him by accident. It might be that match. And then Adam Bomb turns. So they have a brief feud and he turns face. I think that's around there. Quang.
So we see a quick clip of DDP chatting on WCWWrestling.com. I don't know who this kid was that was helping moderate this thing, but he looked about 15 years old. It was like,
did you catch the username of the guy talking to DDP?
I did not. What was that?
I love cows. Asks who the mystery putter is. And Paige's dad is there with him too.
So only our strongest and brightest in the WCW wrestling group, Rover, I'm sure, was typing away trying to get his question in.
I haven't thought of it in a while.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's still kicking, my man, on the bird. We got our cruiserweight title match here. Ultimate Dragon, of course, versus Chris Jericho. Uh, this possibly may be my favorite Chris Jericho tights of all time too. This is like the aqua blue with the tie dye kind of slashes across. It really
I'm always
looks
a fan of the black with like the kind of pineapple look on the side. Like I
yeah.
think he wears them a lot when he debuts in WWF. I don't remember if they're in WCW too, but
Okay.
I think they're in the No Mercy video game. Maybe someone correct me. Greeny probably knows. It's in one of the video games.
Yeah, that sounds like a great question.
Yeah.
These look very beachy, so I enjoyed that. Um, starts out with some opening mat work. I thought it was good here. A lot of cat and mouse styles action here. Ultimo takes over with some kicks. He kind of gets it with his flurry, and Ron Everett says that's his WrestleMania 2000 gear. So there you go.
Yeah, that's the game.
We got all our trivia stalwarts in the chat tonight. So thank you, Ryan. So yeah, Ultimo takes over with his flurry of kicks, which always, as we mentioned, always get a good reaction. Ultimo does a little bit of a eye rake, so he's kind of the de facto heel here. But they mostly play this match, I would say, face versus face overall. But certainly Ultimo leans a little more heelish as we go about it. I thought a good learning within the match is Ultimo does his handstand very early on and is successful with it. And then he tries it again, and Jericho kind of rushes in and hits a flash moonsault off of it. Jericho hits a Tiger Driver, which gets two. During this match, I think this is the first time I've noticed this, but this is something that starts happening a lot. Somebody has a laser pointer and is projecting it on Jericho and then Ultimo in the corner.
I don't think I ever noticed it.
Oh, that is such a 90s thing, with the big laser pointers that started. I know at school they had to ban them.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a big thing in the 90s for sure.
Yeah. So this was the first time I'd noticed that. They climbed to the top. Jericho kind of attempts a drop kick, sending Dragon to the floor. Pretty dangerous looking spot. He whiffs on actually getting contact with Dragon. I thought Tony did a great job covering it, where he says like, "Oh, Dragon was smart enough and dropped down, but he landed hard, so he's still a little out of it." Then I also thought Jericho covered it up well by quickly hitting a dive to the outside. So it wasn't something where like they immediately repeated that spot. So I was appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Jericho kind of goes for a wild dive on the outside, and Ultimo drop kicks him. I thought that looked pretty vicious too. And really, I like this match a lot. This I think is a unique match that you just don't see much. Where this was a match that's based on defense. It's very defense heavy, and I think this is a match you do not see at all in current day wrestling. Where the defense is really shown as an advantage. It's not just like if you just read the play-by-play of this match, it looks a lot like your move, my move. But the way they worked it was not that, because Jericho then goes for a couple of lion salts. He hits one to the back of Dragon, misses the second one. From the handspring elbow, they went from that, or the headstand on the top rope. Jericho learned from that. He goes for the Tiger Driver again, and that gets reversed. So there's just a lot of like nice counters and defensive reversals here.
Yeah, I had the same note. All throughout the match, they're countering and playing defense.
Right. So dueling lobahistral cradles here. Jericho with two near falls. One, he gets his foot on the ropes. Second one, he has to grab the rope on the lobahistral. So he's very like kind of hanging on here. He's on the ropes. Crowd, unfortunately, is dead. I thought the crowd sucked on this one, to be honest. I don't know. I'm going to blame the crowd. I do think this is, Jericho's, as we talked about, is pretty cold character-wise. He just hasn't been able to have a feud or character development.
And he's in and out a lot. He's in Japan, he's back. He's in Japan, he's back. So, like,
he's here. So now we should get him. But, yeah, he just, I don't know, but in this match, I kind of think they did a pretty poor job supporting them because I thought what happened did look good. So Dragon goes for the Dragon Sleeper at the end, gets a knee, run up moonsault for Dragon, but he keeps going for the Tiger Suplex throughout the match. That gets blocked. And then, as I mentioned, Jericho kind of goes for that Tiger Driver again. It gets reversed, but Jericho rolls through for kind of the flash pin here. So yeah, as I mentioned, it was a dead crowd, so I can't really put it in the upper echelon. I think of some of the cruiser matches we've seen, but I thought it was a pretty smartly worked match, especially considering it was Jericho and Dragon who they were familiar with each other from wrestling in war mats in Japan. And even in Mexico, I think when Jericho started out, I think that's when Ultimo was at CMLL. So pretty sure they were in some of those trios down there. So they're familiar with each other. But in general, I would put them two as kind of the cruiser workers, more on the flashier side than maybe like the psychology, mat work and stuff like that side. So I thought this was a pretty highbrow match for them. They do shake hands afterwards, and I ended up going 3 3/4 for this one. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely a little weird. But like you said, they kind of went higher risk and concept with the match. The counters, the defense, the psychology. They kind of mix that defense in around the aerial offense. But with that did come some stuff like some missed time spots, the crowd checking out. But I thought they did a good job of staying with the game plan, and that connected into a pretty good finish. And I give them the credit for trying something different. Like they also had some stiff strikes. Yeah, they could have just went out there and flew around. But first match kind of had some of that. We have a Lucha 6-man coming later that knew was going to be similar to that. So I kind of like that it wasn't just like, okay, let's just do the same thing the Lucha 6 guys are going to do. So they did try and do something different. Let's hope Jericho can get into something of substance here because he definitely needs to get some momentum going. So I went 3.5. I thought it was good. It was different. I could see it maybe not being for everyone. I think you have to take it, like you said, of what it is, and it's a different type of psychology that they work.
Right. Yeah, Jericho unfortunately feels a little bit like a higher level Ayakea right now, which is not a comparison you want.
No, and I think him and Eddie for a while were kind of the same, and Eddie now has leveled up with the heel stuff and kind of left Jericho in the dust. But I think for a while they were like neck and neck with kind of, all right, what are these guys doing? There's no real direction for them. They just kind of come out and wrestle. They're here, they're not. So hopefully we can find some momentum like that.
Mean Gene looking good in his tux. He has a lay on as well. He's talking about the babes at Daytona Beach. So he's putting that over. Shells the hotline. He says, you wouldn't believe who's in the building. People who have no business being in the building. I have no idea who that could be. Then lets us know that results will be posted after the show. So you can call in and get that. Now, I don't know if you're watching this live, why would you, you know what I mean? Like he's shelling the hotline. So how would you?
Right. Why'd you need to call?
Yeah, why would you
call your friends and say, hey, I know you're not watching, but if you call the hotline, you can get all the results, the hot takes.
Yeah, that seemed like a weird shill to me, but I digress. So he walks down. He takes today's role and tried to get some wisdom from Raven. At first, I didn't realize if he knew who Stevie Richards was.
Yeah, it was weird. Hey, pal.
Yeah, he kind of ignores him. I thought he might have thought he was a fan, but anyway, he does acknowledge him by name later. But Raven speaks for the first time here in WCW. So Raven says, trust and hate, love and fate, and I don't understand. Social grace, the human race confuse me. The words I speak break forth world of emotions. Dreams lost, dreams found, dreams I never see. So it is written, so it'll come to pass. But the question is, will I or will I not be Diamond Dallas Page's partner? That is the same question he's been asked since his childhood, which I don't know. Okay. He even dreams that he's willing to sell. Quote the Raven, nevermore. So this is definitely
the Gene pondering.
Yeah. So Gene, I thought was good here, pondering this, and I mean I think this, if nothing, showed that Raven was bringing kind of that type of character into WCW. And you were getting kind of the authentic Raven character,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was encouraging. That
Gene
you
calls
know,
it Edgar Allan Poe gibberish.
yeah, yes.
The
Um,
I do love when Stevie kind of does a wave like a goof, and Gene's like, "Hey, pal," when
yeah.
he's talking.
Yeah. So after the poem here, in Gene's comments, Stevie butts in. He says, "I know Gino, you have a lot of questions about him being the mystery partner." And Stevie tells Raven, "Why don't you tell him about the announcement that you're going to announce tomorrow?" It ends up getting beat up again. The popcorn goes flying. So I thought that looked good. I like this kind of slow burn um, with Raven that we've gotten so far. I think it shows that um, I like the placement of this interview because I thought it kind of helped as a viewer clue you in that Raven was not going to be the mystery partner
Yeah,
to me. So I like that they put it kind of here early in the show to do that. Yeah, overall I thought this was very interesting.
Tony says we already have enough big mouths in this sport, which was funny. Um, I can't get enough of Raven slapping Richards like in all these bits. Like he fucking hammers him every time. He smacks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, boss, the big announcement on Nitro." So Stevie definitely spilling secrets. I know Stevie doesn't last long in this role, but I do like him as the lackey with Raven. I do think he added something early in these early Raven days. I know, again, I know it's quick, but I do wish he could have stayed around and played more of a role, stayed healthy. Real quick, couple points. Grooney definitely talks about the laser pointers on Raw a lot, and they even put it on the tickets. No lasers. Of course, he spelled laser wrong, but whatever. And then Marty says he agrees with you, 3 3/4 on the Jericho Dragon match. And Everett says, "Lovely job, Chad, on the Raven poem."
I tried to pretty I tell you what, Raven's gonna be a challenge recap because trying to get
I
all
couldn't
these
tell if that
lines.
was Raven or like Rotella doing the Christmas
Longfellow
stuff.
couldn't have said it better himself. So
It sounded like Rotella reading Aaron stuff.
right. Our next match, kind of the de facto final boss for the Steiners to get another tag shot at the Outsiders. I was interested to see if Chono and Muda came out to the beat team music or might have had some of their Oriental theme music that they
They
like.
eventually do have like a, or is that only in Japan? I know there was like an NWO
Yeah,
Japan
well, the
song.
NWO Japan theme's like one of the best theme songs of all time.
I don't know if they
Yeah,
bring it to WCW or is it only in Japan?
I'm not sure, and it probably wouldn't have debuted in Japan at this time because they were a
Right.
little behind there. But yeah, it's a great theme. So this match I think's a little interesting here. I'll just say, you know, Chono and Muda don't think you were going to get their A effort at this point. So you kind of get house show style Muda and Chono overall, and Chono in particular is a weird case where he's already starting to break down a little bit health wise. So quick start. The Steiners clean house. They hit some stereo top rope clotheslines. I did like how Muda has the NWO painted on his face. That always looks really cool. Muda's able to take over on Scott and Pepper in some kicks. Bobby and Brain both put over Muda and Chono. Bobby even mentions that they came over 4 or 5 days early. So no jet lag and all that to prepare for this.
Did you, by the way, during the entrance, Dusty, they show these like two smoke shows in the crowd and he's talking and he completely loses his train of
Yeah.
thought.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, oh God. They were hot too.
Yeah. Dusty's always good to see the babes and be like, oh, good googly moogly. You know, he always has a good quote on that. So Chono rakes the eyes, hit the mafia kick, which I always love how Tony always called that the mafia kick. He misses so many, you know. I mean, he's okay with moves, but you know, he doesn't know everybody's pet moves, but he definitely knows Chono's mafia kick. Test for strength, and Rick has no fear with that, of course. And then kind of get a little bit of a face in peril segment here where Scott gets caught in the NWO corner. Chono grabs him, electric chair, handspring elbow, and bulldog by Buddha. Chono gets caught on top. He gets a super belly to belly. Scott makes the tag to Rick. He cleans house, hits a nasty belly-to-belly suplex on both of them. And Bulldog from the top rope to Muda has Chono having to make the save here. Come back. Muda hits the Frankensteiner from the top. That was probably his best spot in the whole match. Does the Dragon Screw leg whip, which was weird. Like this far into the match, he's busting that out and then completely ignores any follow up with that. Gets caught with a handspring elbow into the German suplex. Scott hits one of the worst Frankensteiners I think you'll see that had no impact at all. And then they hit their kind of doomsday DDT to get the win for the Steiner. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I hadn't watched this show honestly front to back in a while, so I'd kind of been more. I've been more pro on the Steiners the last couple of years, so I know obviously Muda and Chono's reputation, but I thought it might have been a surprise because I'm more into the dumb bomb fest than I honestly was like 5 years ago. And I think this had some of that. I think this had some of those. Like if you were on Twitter at the time, if that was a thing, you could have had some gifs from this match that looked cool.
Right.
But there just wasn't a lot of cohesion or kind of glue holding things together. And again, I thought Chono and Muda gave a pretty subpar performance. So I had this as, not a disaster by any means, but slightly disappointed and went 2 3/4.
Yeah, I'm about the same with you on that. It was a slugfest, which was fun. Weird kind of flow though. Like I said, no real heat segment, just kind of fighting back and forth. A couple of clunky spots and some stalling. And then it was just good for the Steiners to get their win and roll on for the title shot. So I went 2 3/4 as well. I was hoping for more. I really enjoyed the WCW tag division, especially some of the matches of the Nitros with the heavy, big brawling bomb fest that we get. This just felt a little off, and Marty agrees that late '90s Muda is rough. It says the better Muda Steiner stuff is in the early '90s, so the chemistry is there, but later on.
Yeah. I mean, they've had some Tokyo, New Japan matches that have been great. So this was definitely a step down from that. We're given probably enough time too. I mean, they were given like around 11 minutes here. Just didn't really come together all the way. Next, we get our showcase 6-man lucha trios here, and some new parents here. So we get Juventud Guerrera and Hector Garza, who we've seen a good bit lately. They're teaming with Liz Mart Jr., not Bismarck, Liz Mart Jr. And Liz Mart Jr., we've only seen once. He was on a Nitro a couple months ago, lost in 20 seconds to Glacier. So this is easily his biggest showcase. And then on the Rudo side, I love this Rudo team. So we get Psychosis with Sonny Ono, Viano 4, who we've seen more the past couple of weeks cropping up. And then La Parca back at it. And we learned that he has been, there he is right there with the shades on looking good. And we learned he's a new charge of Sonny Ono as well. So Sonny Ono's now got Psychosis and La Parca.
I don't know they wrestle these fucking things. I can't even do a podcast on it.
Yeah, you look like Ray at WrestleMania 21 here, fixing the mask here.
There we go.
Oh boy. So today gives us some terms here. I thought today was actually pretty good here. Real good actually throughout this match. It given a lot of terms and signature spots without being annoying. So he explains what the term Rudo is, and Tony tells Bobby that he would be a Rudo in Mexico, and Bobby responds that Tony would be a Whippo in Mexico, which I don't know. It was corny, but maybe mark out there. I thought a good unique appearance here to start out. They kind of culminate in Juventud versus La Parca, which I thought was the right choice. They also pair Garza and Viado, which I love because Viado is a great base. And so, as we mentioned, Garza could be a little sloppy. He's obviously someone that they want to put over. So putting him with somebody that could help base off of him and showcase his aerial talents was very smart, and the size of Garza as well. So all good there. Odo is unable to get to Hoovy, and Parker gets mad at him for a second. The funny moment, Odo flashes a lot of money at him to kind of get him back on the side of things. Uh, Tony gives a little bit of a bio on Lismar Jr. Today says he's 21 years old. I think he was actually 23, but he's a younger guy. He wasn't exactly like a guy that was being showcased a whole lot on CMLL either. So he does feel like a big up and coming prospect here. Some miscommunication spots with his team. We get the Technicos doing a great triple suicide dive over the top. Hoovy does a springboard but gets caught by a Psychosis drop kick. Top rope sunset flip by Psychosis, which was a nasty looking spot there. Everybody misses a splash. We get the star spot with the kind of gory special in the middle. Bobby says they're dropping out of the sky like rain here. And then we have a dive trade sequence that looks amazing. Lismark hits a huge crossbody onto Viato on the floor. I thought Juventude's jumping off of Garza's back and flying into the entranceway was just amazing. Like he literally jumps off Garza's back, probably he's like midway in the ring. So that looks amazing. Garza, of course, culminates this with his corkscrew plancha, and that looks great. Like he has a lot of bodies on the floor that he can land into. So it looks like he makes clean contact, doesn't smash his face up against the floor like he has before. So everything looks good there. Then we get a very signature spot in Lucha where Viato 5 runs out, does the old switcheroo here with Viato 4. So Viato 5's now in the ring, but Garza's able to hit a step-up drop kick and a flash moonsault, and he actually pins Viato 5 for the win here. So I think this is a great 10-minute spot fest. It's really a good showcase, I think, of a lot of Lucha spots in a WCW setting. I think compared to what you saw with Sasuke and Taka, this is more of a actualization of what you would see in a long form trios match. You would just see obviously 2 out of 3 falls and more, but I thought there was very little miscommunication here, balls to the wall. So I really enjoyed this. I think it's somewhat of a hidden gem. I don't think this one's really thought of a whole lot, but the people that watch it seem to enjoy it. My biggest critique, again, I'm taking them to task, the crowd. I understand that this may be 6 guys that are not that familiar with, but I mean, it was just crazy to me, like that Hoovy dive. Like that's something that nowadays would get a great reaction. It could possibly
They're gonna get a holy shit chant.
Yeah, that'd get a holy shit chant in
Or this is
2025.
awesome, whatever.
This was 1997, and it got polite applause. So I don't know. I don't know what they were waiting on, including that sunset flip powerbomb too. I mean, those were just 2 spots that definitely deserve better from the crowd. I think all 6 here deserve better from the crowd. So that and kind of the brevity of it, this one was a tough to rate because I do think the effort here is a great match. It's 4 stars. But just maybe a slight too brief to be that. So this is one of those kind of cop out 3 3/4 star matches for me. Where on the spreadsheet I put it at like a 7.6, 7.7 on the 10-point scale, which is right up against what I'd rate a 4-star match. I really enjoy this. I think this really helps the show too. Like this is kind of those fulcrum matches that I've talked about that when you're looking at one of these pay-per-views on paper, this is one of those that it's kind of like, what's a good show to a very good show and a great show. But I think this and also the contrast between a match like this that's all spot fest heavy compared to Ultimo versus Jericho is really good. AGT is really good from the worker standpoint and making these matches unique and making the show flow together so you have a more cohesive show. enjoyed it a lot.
If I didn't know better, you were trying to keep going just to make me pass out in this mask, which is definitely possible. I think it's a real fun lucha match. They all ball out like madmen. And honestly, it was minimal botches and misses. They kept it pretty clean, which you don't always get in these. So I like the mix of guys. Garza gets the win. I went 3.5, high end 3.5. I thought it was really good. And I agree with you. It definitely added to the card. And this is how they should be using these guys, like to, add to the quality. This is something we keep talking about. WWF doesn't have right now, that they can roll out there and just kick some ass on pay-per-view or TV for 10 minutes. Sleaze Boy went 3.5, a little too spotty. He also asked, do we think that they were trying to push Garza over Hoovy, even though Hoovy was more popular?
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely putting Garza as the top person they're putting. I mean, I think they're behind Garza as much as, I mean, even like with Ray, they obviously like Ray a lot and think they know how to utilize him, but I think they see a ceiling for Ray. And I think at this point with Garza, they think that he has more, upside and ceiling than
there's something with him because WWF loved him too. I mean, they hyped him. We didn't see it as much on our watching because they weren't doing it on Raw, but I remember for sure going into the 97 Rumble.
I mean, he's got the size and he's a good looking guy.
On Superstars and stuff, they were hyping him hard, like Livewire, like he as a potential, Rumble winner. He doesn't end up being in the Rumble; he's in the 6-man instead. But he gets
right. Oh yeah, they were definitely putting him as a a Rumble dark horse. Hey, he's an interesting wrestler. I think overall, I mean, he's not like atrocious. He definitely gets better later on, and I don't even think he's bad here. It's just he's not one of the more spectacular guys they have. And then you combine that with like psychology wise, he's eclipsed by people like Eddie, like Showcase and Flash wise, he's eclipsed by people like Hoovy and Ray. So it's kind of tough. Like he's like the Hall of Very Good for both of those attributes. All right, this is our big retirement match. This is a match like 15 months in the making here. It's Chris Benoit versus Kevin Sullivan. They start out duking it right away. Crowd's kind of up for this. Some nasty punches here. This was an interesting match to watch. Obviously, with everything going on in real life here, I don't think it's a secret that they were pretty much really going after it in this match and not holding back much. And you see that. So a good bit of intensity, of course. Sullivan suplexes Benoit to the floor. Jacqueline is just nuts throughout this match. She's constantly jumping on Benoit, sends him into the guardrail. Benoit monkey flips her onto the aisleway. She lands on her feet. Benoit picks up Jacqueline, sends her into Sullivan. She is just getting thrown around. She's getting pushed around by Sullivan as well. So just a kind of chaotic scene here. Almost felt a little bit like a handicap match in some ways with both of them. They head up to the stage, go right into the surfboards on the set. But then we get a great spot where Jimmy Hart climbs like a lifeguard stand and immediately Benoit pushes that over. You just see like Hart go flying off the screen. It looked great here. Very chaotic. They destroy the set here. Jacqueline comes back and heaves a lounge chair onto Benoit's back. They fight into the ring. It spills outside again. Steps and posts get involved. I thought this was just kind of a relentless torture type match. Very intense. Nasty slaps by Sullivan. Benoit gets crunched on the guardrail and Sullivan gives him a clothesline off of that. Sullivan is able to hit a snap suplex. Dusty's like, that's the first wrestling move we've seen here. Then they get very primal, start biting each other. Sullivan's biting the ribs. Benoit bites the ear. The crowd comes alive for that. Crossface gets applied by Benoit. Bobby keeps reiterating that Sullivan won't quit. Patrick puts the arm down twice, but Sullivan's able to power out on the third attempt. I thought Tony did a good bit on commentary bringing up that in the previous months, Benoit had been successful in making both Barbarian and Mean submit with that crossface. So reiterating that to kind of prove how tough Sullivan is for not quitting here. Sullivan fires back. Tony says he's come back from the dead. He puts Benoit in the tree of woe and knees him. And then we see Jacqueline going under the ring. She brings out the wooden chair that's been a attribute throughout this feud. Sullivan asks for it. Jacqueline says, I'll do it with the chair shot. She ends up whacking Sullivan with it. Dusty's yelling, it can't end like this. And then Jimmy follows Jacqueline as she's heading to the back and asks, why she did that. So Jimmy's perplexed as Benoit hits the diving headbutt to win to a big pop. After the match, Bobby says it's a tragedy to lose your career on something like that. And they end up they must have done like some, promo package or something like that. But they go back to Sullivan. He gets kind of a moment in the sun after the replays. Jimmy lets him know that he let everyone down, and Sullivan shoves him and then walks to the back. So, as far as a big time main event match, Sullivan has one more match in 1999 for the Big Two here in a varsity club match, but this is it for him. So it really, for all intents and purposes, is the end of a career that was very prominent throughout the territories. And in WCW, we know he held a lot of power on the booking committee. And
even on TV for the last 3 years, really, since the end of 94.
Yeah, he's been like a prominent character for a lot of that. So this is a big write-off for him. Yeah. There was no woman in ringside throughout this match. I don't know. Obviously it's a tough match to, I think, talk about because there's so much like real life stuff going on. But as far as the match, I thought it was very intense and up there with some of the better stuff they've done in the feud, and didn't overstay its welcome. Had some uniqueness with the Jimmy Hart lifeguard chair spot and them destroying the set. It held a relentless pace and then ended. The ending I'm a little iffy on with Jacqueline, but they obviously have big plans for her. So it honestly did feel like a Kevin Sullivan book ending, for better or worse, because that's kind of how a lot of his feuds in the territory era ended up kind of having like these red herring endings. Or I always remember like Jake Roberts one time dressed up as Santa Claus at a championship wrestling from Florida and attacked it. And that was like moving the feud from Sullivan to Jake when he was in the satanic stuff. So he does this a lot, and like the blow offs of the big feuds, like somebody else gets a lot of the shine here. But I went 4 stars. I thought this was a brawl that's kind of right in my wheelhouse as far as the intensity and a timing standpoint, and I enjoyed it as a match a lot.
Yeah, it was hard hitting, a lot of hate and anger mixed in. Had some of the classic gimmick stuff, then turned into a kind of a straight fight. I thought the finish was okay. You give Jackie some heat, I guess. Sullivan's gone, so if they want to keep her as a character, right? They're going to give her something, even though it didn't really make sense, I thought. And Benoit's beat him clean enough in the past. It didn't really fucking matter. So we finally get to the end of this feud that's been really going for a long time, over a year. For sure. So it was about time just to be done with this. Like Benoit needs to go into something else for sure. And it was time for Sullivan to ride off. So in 3.5, again, I thought it was really good. Not as good as I thought some of their other stuff, but I do like that they brought the hate one more time. I think I was just kind of over it by this point. Like I think if they would have done this like a Super Brawl, I would have been fine with it. I think that would have been a good place to do it. I think dragging it another like 3 months to here was probably not necessary, and more because it's also stalling Benoit and keeping him stuck in the
it's definitely time for them to be apart from this. It's just I think in retrospect, this is in one way in retrospect with what happens in real life, it's worse, but as a match and the way matches work in itself, to me, this in retrospect is better, because I get so burned out now with like the gimmick brawls, just having, the kendo sticks and all the gimmicks and stuff like that. And here everything was organic. The only contrived thing was the wooden chair, but that had been such a focal point throughout the feud. So I didn't mind that. Otherwise, they used the set or the steps, the post, guardrail, stuff that actually was around ringside. Now our U.S. Championship match here: Jeff Jarrett versus Mongo, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Bobby, of course, putting over the development of Mongo, actually predicts him to win here. Jarrett sucks chant from the crowd to start, so Mongo's kind of your de facto babyface. He grabs the belt, get a lot of stalling to start this. Jarrett out wrestles him, struts around. Mongo goes after the leg. Bobby points out that if he attacks the leg enough, Jarrett won't be able to use the figure four. Tony on commentary as they get in the ring talks about how Jarrett kind of perfected the figure four. And first it was sort of an homage to Flair, but now he's kind of made it his own. So I thought that was good. Test of straight gives Mongo the advantage again. Mongo sits Jarrett out again. There's a lot of kind of start stops here in the early going, and Mongo's just dominating. When they're on the outside, so if you're looking at the hard cam, this is on the left-hand side. If you watch this show, there's a guy in a WCW shirt on the front row. I'm pretty sure that's Billy Silverman, who was just finishing up in WWF as a referee and soon would be a referee in WCW.
Right, till the end, yeah.
Yeah, look like him. If not, it was his doppelganger for sure. So Mongo chokes Jarrett with the cable cord on the outside. Power slam by Mongo. He does miss a knee in the corner. Jarrett does a couple of 3-point stances to clip Mongo. But again, this is like a 7-minute match overall. Mongo dominated for like 6 minutes of it. Jarrett has 30 seconds of offense, and now we're going right to the finish. So the finish comes where the Halliburton gets put in by Deborah. Jarrett kind of grabs it. Mongo blocks the first one with his arm. But then Jarrett's able to whack him in the head with it. And they kind of made it seem like, oh, Deborah regretfully threw the Halliburton in the ring.
Right.
Jarrett grabbed it. But after the pin, we see Deborah's clapping, and it's apparent that she's double-crossed Mongo. She's now with Jarrett, which is a partnership that, they carry for a while here. So it's it's a big moment in that respect. As a match, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't expecting a classic here, but this to me is the only match on the show that felt very like Nitro-ish, I would say. This was like 7 minutes, not a lot of juice to it. I liked Mongo as we talked about, and I probably higher on Jarrett than most. So as a match, I thought this was just nothing. Finish, I'm also not too fond of because this is one of these pet peeves that you have in wrestling where, we just saw the month before Deborah siding with Mongo. So,
or we just saw it 15 minutes ago, the valet turning on the guy. Like it was back-to-back matches.
Too. But I mean, with this, they're kind of presenting it as this long con, but it made no sense that we've had the last month of storyline. And again, I don't know. It's possible there was real life stuff as to why they separated Deborah and Mongo here. This is right around the time in real life they started getting separated. They're not divorced for another year, but they were, split before that. So that's maybe possible where they kind of had their hand forced and then, regrouped and center with Jarrett. But either way, we can only judge really what's on screen, and I didn't think it was very successful and made a lot of sense at all. So I went 2 1/4 for the match. It's a nothing match. It's really, this is just like a nothing match. It's all about Deborah now going with Jarrett.
I only went 1 3/4. Actually, it was really disappointed in it. I was pretty excited for this match. Like I like Mongo a lot. I've liked a lot of his stuff. I just thought this never got in gear. I thought it ambled into the forced finish. I thought it was silly to have the 2 in a row stacked with the female manager turning kind of out of nowhere. That didn't really make sense either time. Maybe if they spaced these with the Lucha match, might have made a little bit more sense, but it just felt like back to back. I was like, okay, we just saw this. And this had so much build and heat, but none of the anger and energy came in the match until the finish. Like there was no pissiness from Mongo. Like Jarrett's been fucking with him for months, and Jarrett should be pissed too. Like Mongo's been in his way of joining the Horsemen all this time. And it's like, this should have been a big brawl with a lot of hate. And it felt like they just kind of fucked around and then they got angry at the end. So I would have liked just a little bit more out of them from just an anger and urgency standpoint. And I do think what they could have done is just saved the Deborah reveal for Nitro the next night. So then at least it's not stacked on top of Jackie. So leave it ambiguous, get out of here as it is. And then tomorrow night they come out and Deborah reveals that she did it on purpose. Maybe she does it again. You know what I mean? So, we'll see where that goes. But so starting 3/4, I was definitely disappointed.
I don't have a lot of big critiques with this card, but I was trying to think. I think you either could have shifted this match or the Steiners match to Nitro, and maybe given some time to like the Lucha match, and could have made the card a little better. But that'd be my only critique there. That Gene gives us another shield for the hotline and Road Wild promo here. I don't know if they mentioned Road Wild before, but this is what I guess we officially get the name change from Hog Wild to Road Wild.
Yeah, they don't even mention why or what.
Because it's definitely called Road Wild here, and even at the end after the credits, they have the graphic.
Yeah, well, they have to change it, right? Because of the Harley Hog.
Right. Then we get a Hogan Rodman backstage promo. I don't know. I'm not gonna go. I think verbatim in this. It's in black and white. Rodman's wearing a straw hat. This is basically just like a Vibes final promo. I thought it was okay. I mean, good. I'd say good.
It would have been better on TV as a hard sell.
Nothing really of I think substance, but it's kind of like your final backstage.
I wonder if they aired this on the preview show as a selling final sell, and then they just re-aired it here.
This definitely felt like the WrestleMania coming back from intermission. You got Hogan and Warrior spouting off like them fighting in the galaxy, that type of final promo. So then we get to the tag match. This is a big one that we've been building to for a while as well, where it is Randy Savage and Scott Hall versus Diamond Dallas Page and his mystery partner. So NWO team comes out, DDP comes out, and then without much fanfare, Curt Hennig walks out. So he's the mystery partner. There was a lot of smoke in the entranceway, so even at the beginning, they're like, we can't see through the smoke. And then they're like, it's Curt Hennig. Bobby immediately puts over how fat and bloated Hennig looks by declaring he's in the best shape of his life, which is always code for he looks freaking awful, which he did. I thought he looked bad, and I don't think he got a very good reaction at all.
No.
So this is, I mean, he hadn't wrestled in almost 4 years. This is kind of like a weird mashup of the Survivor Series 1992.
Yeah, I had the same note. It's kind of cool.
It's just weird that, almost 5 years later, how different everybody kind of is placement-wise. So Paige and Savage start out. Savage grabs some flowers or something that was at ringside and shoves them in. Savage is pretty manic throughout this whole match. Hennig gets the tag. He faces off against Hall. I don't know if Hall was in his best capacity either for this match, as he looks pretty slow and disorganized throughout it. So that was a problem. Hennig slaps Hall. We get a stare down. Hennig kind of runs through all his moves. DDP comes back with the flapjack onto Hall. Savage comes in. They gain advantage on Page. He's the face in peril. I thought Savage was great on the outside, bouncing around and out. I actually thought Savage was the MVP of this match, and Page was good too, but Savage was just bouncing around everywhere.
Did you catch the point in here too, where Hennig, when he gets to flurry, he says, and that's we used to say that's perfect. Do you think he was doing that as did he actually was it a mistake, or did he do it on purpose as a inside joke, or what?
He was probably trying to get the crowd into it, but they were not necessarily biting on it. So Page is able to make the hot tag that gets hardly no pop, and Hennig comes in and cleans house, and then we get to the finish, which is a little botched, and also a lot stupid. So basically, Page is on the outside, and he's his back is to the ring, but his hands are up in the air, kind of holding the top rope. So it's supposed to be, Hennig gets sent into the ropes. Page is holding the ropes down, just because he's
Yeah,
beat
he's
up
supposed to
or
go over the
whatever.
top.
And Hennig takes the bump over. Hennig's not able to do the bump, so you get the gist of it, but it didn't look great. And then
It actually
on
looked like
that,
he actually bangs out the ropes pretty hard with his back. Like that
yeah,
actually looked
yeah.
that part looked okay because he slams into the ropes pretty hard.
Yeah, he's just not athletic enough at this
Mm.
point to kind of pull that off. But then, like, this has to be one of the more, hot-headed, ridiculous turns I've
Stupid.
seen from anybody. Where immediately then, Hennig attacks Page from behind and walks out. You get the stupid speculation from the announcers if he's NWO. Who knows? Inside, they give Page the outsider's edge, and Savage gives him the big elbow to win. About 10 minutes on this one. I went 2 3/4. I mean, it was kind of your run of the mill Nitro main event type match, too. Again, I thought Savage was good. I thought Page did well enough. I think this is the first time in a while Page had kind of been disserviced from the booking. Um, because they kind of presented up this mystery partner angle, and he'd been such a lone wolf that him kind of finally trusting someone to be his partner, and then that partner immediately turning on him over nothing, made Savage look pretty made Page look pretty foolish and Sting like when he kept trusting Flair or whatever throughout the years. So that was a disappointment. And then we just get to Hennig, and I really think this is an injustice on Hennig, and this is one of these problems that when you come back and you look, and it still happens today. Like this is still some of the things that I think in the past 2 years, um, AEW has gotten better at, but like bringing in like a Bobby Lashley or somebody like that, are they well known in the wrestling circles? Yes. Will they move the needle for your promotion? No. You don't have to bring them in.
Right.
Like Hennig is not a difference maker. He
Right. He's the
was
biggest free agent
never
in wrestling history.
Yeah, he was never a difference maker from a box office standpoint in wrestling. He had a great gimmick that's memorable now, and anybody that watched that era, loved him. Like, you get that on the street, like, oh, I love Mr. Perfect or whatnot. But he just was not a bottom line difference maker. So to bring him in with this much hoopla and in the condition he is, where you saw here, like this was his big return, and I don't think he put in any effort whatsoever. I thought it was brutal, his performance here.
Mm-hmm.
So like the writing was on the wall already with this match that okay, like he's not really taking this serious enough to where he's being positioned.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to position him in the main event of things, or at least equal to like right under your Hogans and the big dogs, like on the Hall level stuff, Page level, probably stuff like that. He's not there, and is not going to be there. And I think you really saw it in this match, and so that makes this match a failure, which sucks. Um, so yeah, overall, I think this is a more interesting match to discuss in retrospect than what you saw on the pay per view. But very disappointing performance by Hennig, and one of those matches that now we know what happens eventually with WCW. It's kind of one of those little moments you can talk to, and one of those victories where in retrospect, whether they wanted him or not, like WWF letting him go turned out better for them than him coming back in and doing, because I don't think he'd have been effective. I just don't think he was in any condition to perform at any level.
No, I wonder if he would have came in November, right after the Triple H thing when he leaves, I think the heat would have been a little bit more because it would have been like another guy jumping. And if he brought him right into the NWO,
right into the NWO, I definitely.
I think right into the NWO in November, December, even if it's as like a DiBiase type manager guy for a little bit, I think that would have worked better because now you're stealing another guy while they're high. And by this point, he had already been off TV again for another 7 months. You kind of forgot about him. And yeah, he didn't look great. I mean, he looked better when he was announcing in '96. So he has not done a ton. It almost makes me think this wasn't planned like super far in advance. It was kind of like maybe Lloyd stopped paying his shit out and suddenly he was like, fuck, like I need a payday. So they hustled into it because you could tell he hasn't worked his way into shape at all. The match is definitely underwhelming. The crowd was not into Hennig. The match was not much outside the rib work by the NWO. The finish is played out. We've seen it a million times. They botched it. And even tapped in, it was the same as Survivor Series. You mentioned Survivor Series 92. It's the same thing. Remember, except he comes back in that one, which I thought was what he was going to do. I thought he was going to fake it and come back again. Like he did
that's also like Hennig seems to love this type of finish too, because it's a little reminiscent of WrestleMania 10 too, when he's the special guest referee. It's like
gets annoyed and stomps off.
Yeah, it's. I mean, maybe like if you want to present a hot-headed character, but then it's like, well, why do these guys still keep picking him as the mystery partner? Like,
right.
And especially like I want to see what happens after this, but like watching this almost infuriated me more for what I think is going to happen with Flair. Like, really wanting to recruit him because it's like, what did you not just see what happened? Like,
in the whole match, they're hyping up how DDP's outsmarted the NWO left and right. Him and Larry put one over on them on Nitro, and then Hennig just turns on him in 10 minutes for no reason. And honestly, the Nitro debut, we talked about it, that sucked too. So it's kind of like we haven't gotten much out of him. Even that Flair promo was kind of whatever. I actually think he should have debuted here. I think Raven should have been the mystery guy at the 30th. They should have teased Raven and Page's history that he was going to be the guy, and then Hennig walks out. I think you would have got a bigger pop here. You wouldn't have had the tease otherwise with the weak debut on Nitro. I think big picture, fine, but man, this match really disappointed. I went 2 3/4 as well, and it had nothing to do with Savage and Hall. Really, it was all on Page and Hennig, and like Page is again a guy that's been so into this feud, and this felt like a complete misfire across the board. I would have done Larry here. I think it would have been a way hotter match.
I mean, even if Hennig debuted here, I think you may have gotten more of a pop. But I honestly think, especially with this crowd and how I feel like casual they were, I just feel like it was a lot of the case where, they may have been locked in during like Hulk Andre. And then for somebody like Hennig, we know when he came into the WWF was right when they were starting to peter off popularity-wise. So there's probably a lot of people that were sort of like.
I still think if he debuts here,
like wasn't that Mr. Perfect? But I
think if he returns here and his Hell's Page win, I think it's all different. like if they just do that, you're fine. I think the weak debut on Nitro, you already lost the debut pop, and then this stupid finish didn't help. Like, even if they wanted to mimic Survivor Series, just have him come back and help Page win and then have them argue.
Yeah, the turn's real bad. I still say overall, though, I don't think I think he's overinflated on his worth.
Physically, for sure.
Yeah, physically, he was just, I mean, that's on him.
I'm curious if he gets
atrocious
into shape as he works his way back in action over the next year.
This was bad. I mean, I didn't remember it being this bad, but he's clearly like.
Well, he's a good 2 years. My guess is this was a last minute thing, and I know there's a lot of back and forth.
It can't. I don't think it can be last minute because you had Larry Hennig at the crowd in like May.
Well, no, I don't mean the week before. I mean even a month before where he didn't get himself in a ring shape.
Do something. Like this
he's clearly is not in shape. But that's why I'm curious if he wrestles his way back into shape. I mean, he's here for 2 more years, so right? He's here till mid-90s.
Oh yeah, he's here for a while because the West Texas redneck stuff's been
actually even late '99 because on he's smart on the Russo on the backbone. Like he's part of that Russo. Russo is going to fire him and all this other shit. So he's there for a while,
and he still seems to be like somebody they obviously want to like present highly. Like once we get to the Wolfpack stuff, like him going Wolfpack was seen as like a big shot across the bow. So I don't know. We'll see. This was a bad first impression though, for sure. rough first 3 appearances. Next is our semi-main event, big match here, and again, like, and this is one thing I like with the pacing of these shows, though. Like, literally, Paige and Kimberly are walking to the back, and Piper's music's revving up. So it's like, here we go. They get after it. It's a tight 2:45 on these pay-per-views. So they come right out. Flair kind of debuts this purple robe that we'll see him wear for a while. He keeps this one for a long time. Thought his pyro looked good with the Bash at the Beach set. Bobby compares this match to Ali versus Frazier, the Celtics versus the Lakers. So they start duking it out. Flair bails, walks down most of the aisle to regroup. Flair gets beat up again, does the Flair flip, and then a clothesline to the floor. Piper follows up, this time sends Flair into the guardrail. Flair gets back body dropped on the floor, begs off. Flair then is able to trap Piper, goes after the leg, locks on the figure 4 early. They were really sprinting and working at a hard pace here too. This match ends up going about 14 minutes, but not a lot of downtime at all. Piper reverses the figure 4 to a big pop. They slug it out again. Both seem, I thought, motivated here, which I thought was nice to see, especially from somebody like Piper. Big clothesline sends Flair out. He begs off. Sleeper gets locked in for a brief moment. Flair hits a draw breaker, so they put over on commentary how good of a counter that was. And that is something we hadn't seen. Like, once Piper's locked in the sleeper so far in this run, it's been curtained, so that was nice. Flair does a couple of pins with his foot on the ropes. He jaws at the crowd, tells the fat boy to shut up, etc. Gets caught on Flair gets caught on the top rope. Roddy locks him in the figure 4 to a big pop. Flair breaks out of that, puts on the international object that gets intercepted by Piper. Benoit and Mongo come down at this point. I think they were late on their cue, so this looks a little weird. Where Mark Curtis kind of
he looked like a video game character stuck in the corner. Like, he's in the corner, not talking to anybody and doing this with his hands. Like, I'm like, at least, like, if you realize the timing's off, maybe like have Flair hit you or like trip or like go outside to pick something. Like, he just turns his back, turns his back, and he's talking to nobody. It was very weird. It was awful.
He kind of gets hung out to dry here, I think. He does eventually turn his back, but that, like, he had to have 2010 vision to see them from the corner of his eye, because they were like right at the entrance set. When he turned around, it was like waving them in. So I don't know how he was able to spot them from that far away. But I thought once they got down there and covered, it was just like a rough 15 seconds to me. So Benoit distracts Curtis as Mongo hits the tombstone. That's after Benoit misses the dive in. Then Piper kicks out at 2. I thought that was a good near fall.
Yeah,
they slug it out one more time. Piper locks on the sleeper. Flair can't counter this time, and then he passes out. And his hand drops 3 times. So Piper wins to a big pop.
But that was a little silly too, because the Horsemen leave, and Dusty's like, "Oh, Horsemen are gone. They thought it was over." Like, whoever leave when you're the Horseman or any backup, you don't leave until we're done. like I don't know what they could have done. Maybe some officials could have just came out and held them back or something, or tripped them
Mike could have had Dillinger out there.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was like, oh, they thought it was over, so they left. Like, okay.
Yeah. Overall, I like this match though actually a lot. I thought they were very motivated. I thought this was kind of like a greatest hits, and I mean, are they past their prime? Yes. I know on commentary they tried to say they were still in their prime. They're definitely past their prime. But I thought it was a very energetic, good match. Very good performance by Piper. This almost made me more mad at Hennig, because again, like, I kind of equate Roddy by this point being trash, and he's had a few moments, but I still don't think the wheels have fallen off. I was actually watching this match thinking this should have been his retirement match too. I thought this would have been a nice match to like send him out on versus one of his legit best friends and a big moment. Flair.
3 years.
I know. When I watched, like I said, I was watching Bash at the Beach 1999 last night, falling asleep, and when he comes out for that boxing match versus Buff as the semi-main event, I was like, oh my God. I could not, it's just
He's
like,
there right to the Russo stuff too into 2000.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
But I'll give him credit. Like, this is good. I mean, you never got like in 1983, his matches versus Valentine were like classics and legit great matches, but I didn't think this was far off on a Piper performance standpoint from what you saw at like WWF versus Hogan in the 85, 86. I mean, he brought energy. It was, not the most artistic, highbrow wrestling contest, but had good energy, had some counters, good heat. Like, this brought the crowd back into things for sure. And overall, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this more than I thought. Like, I definitely think this is like a greatest hits type match, but it was one of those like kind of nostalgia heavy that still felt sort of important with what was going on. So kind of towed that line, and I went 3.25. Enjoyed it.
At one point, Dusty says, when Flair drops a knee, that was the to the trapezius thing.
Yeah.
No, they cobbled together a fun match. It was willpower, old school trickery, magic. Like, they just dialed it up and just went after it. Like you said, the pace was good. They didn't slow down. The Horseman botches were definitely awkward, but I thought it was more just the Curtis thing was real weird. But I really liked the final stretch after the tombstone. Even though there's some clunkiness, I thought it came with charm and an engaged crowd, which was nice. They were in it for these old guys. Piper gets a big win over the Horsemen, so we'll see where that goes, obviously. And a tough luck loss to the Horsemen, too. We're reformed or streamlined, and then they lose, but it's fine. Like you said, it felt like this could have been a write-off for Piper. So I'm curious, does he dip and then come back again, or is he on consistently? Because it did feel like kind of a break for him. We'll see. But I went 3 stars. I thought it was good.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much of a little break he comes back before, obviously, the stuff with Havoc coming up. But yeah. So that leads us right to our main event. Buffer's out for this one, of course. So as much pomp and circumstance as really WCW does around this time, some big pyro just for the match. Giant and Luger come out first. I thought their pose, again, with the set, had like the red lighting and Giant doing the choke as the fire comes out. Looked incredible. It looked awesome. Great entrance with Rodman and Hogan. What you probably do not want to watch on the network, because as good as the NWO theme is, it's so much better with Voodoo Child coming out. So that unfortunately on the network gets dubbed over. You don't get a lot of the kind of atmospheric from that. Savage is with them. And I like Buffer saying, with apparently their special manager, Randy Savage. So essentially, I there's some fanfic on this stuff, and I put credence to it that Savage was essentially the babysitter here.
Right, yeah, for Rodman.
So he's kind of the Brother Brudai role on the SummerSlam '89 match, and the Jimmy Snuka role for the WrestleMania main event. So that's kind of 2 other moments. Also, someone theorized if like Rodman went nuts and bailed, you could have had like Savage take his place and kind of be the best possible cover up. That Savage and Hogan are teaming. So I give a good bit of credence to that, as you could see throughout the match. Like, Savage was kind of tipping and outright talking to Rodman, and then he'd get in and do.
Which we saw they used him for that for Mongo and Kevin Green as well.
Yeah. So pretty good role to have Coach Savage on the outside here.
We also have a '90s luminary in the crowd with Andrew Galata, and Rodman's agent Dwight Manley is with him.
Yeah, they name drop Rodman's agent. He's there in an NWO shirt. I'll give credit to Bischoff not coming out with them as well. I think that's an easy spot that wouldn't have been bad for him to kind of pump his ego and be there and
come out with Rodman,
globbing it up with them. And he does not make an appearance on this show for the camera, period. So I'll give kudos to that he's definitely. We talked about this. Like, the NWO has not been as oversaturated as you might think. Like, they're still not bloated as a unit. They don't have too many members, and they're all pretty compartmentalized. As you like have the Hogan crew, you have the Wolfpack crew, you have the B crew, and then that's that. So Hogan and Luger start out some good basic wrestling, setting the table here. Hogan's kind of begging off. He's claiming Luger was pulling his hair, all that. Hogan gets to the advantage and plays to the crowd. The crowd here was chanting for Rodman to start. And they do a Rodman sucks a little later, so I don't know what happened in 10 minutes, but there you go. I thought they teased the build up to Rodman getting involved really well, and that they kind of wait, about 4 or 5 minutes. Then Hogan and Rodman embrace. Rodman gets tagged in. There's some like random pieces of trash people are throwing in, bouncing off Rodman's head, Hogan's head here. On commentary, they're talking about Rodman, playing it cool and all that. And then Rodman and Luger lock up. Rodman hits the arm drag, and this is one of the all-time celebrations where, the crowd's going wild. The announcers are going wild. Hogan's jumping up and down. Savage is on the apron,
yeah, that's great.
with the finger. It's
really
just an all-time celebration off this one-arm drag. Rodman keeps his shades on, which stuns Dusty. He's like, he still got his shades on. So he's mesmerized by that. And I actually thought on commentary they did a good job here in saying, like, okay, like he could have got lucky in that regard, but this is a pro athlete.
Oh, yeah.
He'll have some athletic ability that'll translate at least in that regard. So I thought they did a good job showing, like, hey, this is, as bizarre and controversial as he is as a figure, he's a high caliber pro athlete too. So he's gonna have some athleticism. That gets even more emphasized as the NWO regroups here as Luger gets an arm drag in on both Rodman and Hogan. So a little bit of comeuppance there. And then Rodman does his leapfrog and the shoulder tackle. And so again, he gets the spot over, and another great celebration off of that. Dusty says somebody call the law, which is funny. Double leapfrog from Rodman. Luger catches him with the clothesline. Giant tags in. Him and Hogan have a little bit of back and forth here. And then again, like Hogan always set the table. He set the table with Luger. He sets the table with Giant. Then Hogan tags in Rodman. We get the Rodman Giant stare down. I thought this was good from an aesthetic standpoint to show that Giant still was taller than, this pro NBA player. And it looked different enough that, like, is the Giant 7'4", 7, whatever they built him in. No, but he was definitely taller than Rodman. Yeah. So that looked good from an aesthetic standpoint. Rodman's able to leapfrog over the Giant, which also looks good from an aesthetic standpoint, but gets caught in a bear hug, an inverted atomic drop, one of the more famous spots that you saw all the time on SportsCenter. Giant then spanks Rodman, which was a classic one here. He chokes out Rodman. Hogan takes his legs out, though, so they get a little bit of a heat segment here on the Giant. End up doing a double arm drag, Hogan and Rodman, which was a cool double team spot, actually. And then, they kind of work him over, and it looked good here. Luger gets to tag in. He cleans house, but again, Hogan clips him again. So Hogan's kind of being that constant presence. I thought Hogan worked really hard in this match, too.
Yeah, he wanted it. He knew the eyes were on this one. Like, he knew.
I think it's easy, and this is something, again, in the modern era, when you see even like somebody like Cena with like A-list Hollywood celebrities, it feels like Cena's a little phony a lot of times. Like I was just watching something like it was on Letterboxd, like their 4 favorites, and Cena's like there with Idris Elba and the other co-stars of that Head of State Amazon movie he's in. And it's just, I don't know, Cena's like, all right, so we're gonna do this game, guys. It's a lot like that. Yeah. And I was kind of reminisce here that, I mean, Hogan feels like he belongs. Like it feels like Hogan and Rodman are a duo. It doesn't feel like Rodman's just like, kind of going along with it because Hogan's there. Like he feels
they feel like a
Savage too. Like they kind of have that coolness factor that, unfortunately, like I think Cena, like, and that really shows, because I mean Cena's obviously a big star. He's a household name, but when you talk about like top of the top, like Hogan has that little level, like in historically over someone like that. So Luger comes in, he gets worked over. We get the leg drop from Hogan, and Luger kicks out, which I thought
no reaction, by the way,
a
in the kick
very
out.
bigger pop for that. That again, like I don't know what the crowd was looking for here. I mean,
Luger literally blew out of like one of the most indestructible finishers, and
like
they
how
don't
many
even react.
people? Because like he missed leg drops and got
Right.
pinned, but I
Right.
mean,
To
how many
kick
people
out.
at that point had kicked out of a leg drop?
Had
can't.
anyone ever? I don't
I
even
don't
know.
know. Yeah, not since like '83. So that was just awful. Like that should have been a huge moment and was not. So again, crowd, you suck. Rodman works over Luger a little bit in the corner. I thought a good callback with Rodman getting into it. Randy Anderson, he headbutts him, so we get some kind of his NBA altercations with referees played over. NWO is celebrating. The tag is made to the Giant. Now the referee didn't see it, but Giant just kind of says the heck with it and beats both of them up. Gives them the double noggin knocker. The crowd erupts as Sting comes out. This again. Oh man, I don't know why we had this spot here. This
Unnecessary.
sucks. So,
yeah.
I mean, the spot itself, I don't think is great. They could have cut the spot for sure, but to me, the announcers is what's even worse with it.
Yeah,
So
it's
the
obvious
Sting,
it's not him.
the
And they've
Sting
been
gets
duped
in the
so
ring.
many
He
times
goes
now.
over the top rope.
Yeah.
So he goes over the top rope, which if you couldn't tell by then, that should be your tip off. It's Nash. So he goes over the top rope. Announcer's still selling it as legit. Hits Giant with the back. Again, the announcers were like, it's the NWO all along. It's like, guys, it has been 10 months of this. Like, it's awful. So that was again like a 30-second detour that for some reason we had that wasn't, and I wouldn't have even been as again, like I think you could have had I don't know. Like you could have had Nash come out as the fake Sting, but he should have been like he could have got one over on Luger, and then Giant should have like clotheslined him out in the match.
Or Sting should have came out and cut him off.
Or the
in
real
past.
Sting, yeah, beats him up with the bat. Something.
Have Nash come down halfway, and then the real Sting repels and stands in front of him.
They throw this Nash's fake Sting out for like months, and I do not know why because it's not effective at all, and it sucks. So then we get to the finish where Rodman has Luger, but he's able to break free when Hogan decks Rodman by accident. And then Luger racks Hogan. Hogan submits, so another big win for Luger. Nick Patrick comes out and calls for the finish. Randy Anderson got bumped in this melee. Then we get the visual where he racks Rodman. So again, that and the spanking were kind of the big spots, along with the arm drag that you saw in a lot of the clips on the sports stations. Macho comes in and gets racked too. So we get all three racked. So a big celebratory moment, a big finish, and a really good, smartly worked match that, again, like if you look at the cage match for this, and I think in real time, people are like, oh, that was decent. And cage match has this match at like 5.25, which is an atrocity. Like, this is a very fun celebrity match that's worked smartly. I don't know what
and the Nick Patrick payoff is good too, with him being the one that comes in.
Payoffs are good. I don't really know what more you want. Like, yeah, the Sting Nash stuff is dumb, but again, that's 30 seconds. Almost like in the Flair Piper Horseman miscommunication. I think you can forgive that. And so overall, I think this is a really good main event that delivered on its promise of having a high profile celebrity match that was successful. I went 3.5.
Yeah, it's fun. I thought it met the hype, the spectacle vibes. The crowd woke back up for most of it. The structure was well done. I loved all the overselling for Rodman. Was cool. Like that really added to it. But then I like that Luger learned quick and answered the bell. He's like a cut above. He's not going to fall for these parlor tricks. Like he got burned once, and then after they counted everything. So I thought that made him look good. Rodman got a lot of run. There was no bait and switch. It's like he only had a spot at the end or something like that. Like he clearly put the work in. He looked good, and he worked the match like any wrestler would. I love the clean tap for Luger. He's been dominant in 97. He's been great in 97. He's the top WCW face right now. And he's lined up for that Stampede title match that he earned. So that was really good. Sting stuff was overkill, made the announcers look stupid. And, this is one of my small quibbles with WCW right now. It feels a lot of times like the pay-per-views are in a disconnected universe from TV. And it feels like stuff that would happen normally on TV does not happen on pay-per-view. And things that they build and talk about on TV doesn't always show up on pay-per-view. I don't know if they haven't figured out the timing of these cards where stuff is kind of rushed or thrown together, but the guys feel like they act differently a lot of times. Where are the NWO troops? Like, why do they randomly not show up this time? So they always come out and rush the ring. And I know you don't want to beat it to the ground, but why not have them start to come out? Or we see the Steiners holding them at bay, or Page and the Steiners in the back, like keeping them in the, like fighting in the back, or even just say it. Just be like, we just got word there's a melee in the back. A troop of WCW wrestlers have cornered off the NWO troops from coming out here. So now Hogan and Luger are on their own, or Robin are on their own with Savage. Like, it just is this disconnects like that they don't explain. It's like, why do every other fucking big match does every NWO guy come out? And this time they don't, and like the most high profile match they've had in a while. So it's just like, I'd like to see more continuity on the TV stuff and the pay-per-view. And I'm not saying I want to fuck finish, but like, just explain why it's not one, because it happens every week on TV constantly.
I don't think it's been as bad on TV, but it's certainly something that
they always have the troops coming out though, especially at the end of the show.
Not as bad though. Like, I think it's been pretty good in being compartmentalized.
I'm not saying it's even bad. I'm just saying the troops tend to be involved in all of their actions as planned. Like, we know Chono and Muda are here. Like, I guess we haven't seen Buff and those guys, so maybe they're not in the building. But like,
I just think like I was thinking about like that Chicago.
Did they leave like the Horsemen? They thought it was over.
Well, I mean, the Chicago beatdown, they only had like what they considered the big players out.
Yeah. It just feels like in the big matches that they should have.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with any group dynamic because it can very easily fall into a.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They didn't even have to come out; just say it. Just be like,
yeah,
the Steiners are holding Chono and Muda back. They're brawling backstage or whatever. Like, just say it. Like, it takes 2 seconds to say it. Like, why aren't these guys aren't out here like they always are? Right. But it's a small quibble. It's not going to affect my grade. It was clean. It was simple. It was effective. The heat was already there with Rodman and Luger's quest, so you didn't need more than that. Which is why I think the Sting thing probably wasn't needed as well. Like, if you look at it that way, I went 3 3/4. Actually, I liked it quite a bit. I think I might have had it as my highest match of the night. I thought it was well done. It's a really good celebrity match, and it paid off all of the Rodman hype really, really well.
All right, and then, like usual, very quick sign off, and we got Volume Services did the catering, which I always have to mention on these. I always like who does the catering. Just trying to see. Let me just see if I can. It'll load what Big Davey gave this. Is it going? So, all right, we can go to our awards, whatever.
All right. Match of the night, I had the main event.
I mean, Keith gives the main event a 1.25 stars. That's just atrocious.
No, that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. I think it's just, it's like he says the match was pretty bad, but it had amazing heat. So at least that spectacle aspect somewhat saved. It's just, I think that just shows like how hard a critique like stuff was back in the day. And also, honestly, like the perception of things. Like, I mean, in 97, you had so much like, oh, Hogan's bad. So like,
yeah. And there was so few voices.
Luger's bad. Like, Luger can't wrestle either. So
there was so few voices that it was an echo chamber as well. Like, there weren't a ton of sources out there to get this stuff from,
Right. That's just so. Oh, that's terrible. My match of the night, I went with Benoit Sullivan.
All right, moment was Luger racking Hogan for me.
I did Luger wrecking Rodman.
Yeah, that was cool too. But Hogan was like the bigger to me, like meant something.
Okay, yeah, I got Dave's right. Oh boy, 1.5 stars for the main event.
Hey,
well, there you go. 3 1/4 for Flair Piper, 1/2 star for the tag match. Dud for Jarrett Mongo.
I'm with him on that one.
3.5 for the Sullivan Benoit, 4 1/4 for the Lucha 6-man. 3.25 for the Steiners versus Chono and Muda, 4.25 for Jericho versus Ultimo. He was always an Ultimo
Right.
guy. And then 2.5 for the opener. So some good, some bad for Big Dave here. Let me see what Keith gave that opener, because that 3 stars. All right. Then he gives 3.25 for the Ultimo Jericho match. It's an interesting pay-per-view. I think it's one that's worth a retrospection for sure.
MVP, I went Luger.
Yeah, I
he
think
comes out as the biggest star.
Yeah, I think anybody in the main event, including Savage, actually, and that match wasn't great, but he was good in his match, and then him being kind of the quarterback of that. I just went with Rodman, because I think any celebrity, especially in this type of environment, like we've seen LT be successful. I think this match is a little bit better than the one from WrestleMania 11, although I do like that match too. But it's always nice. I mean, it's like, I'm sure he was paid well, but it's like Rodman cared more on this show than Hennig. Like, again, like what happened here? So he obviously at least did a couple of training sessions in ring and had some basic fundamentals to do, like the leapfrog spots and the arm drag spots to take a bump and whatnot.
No debuts, no shots fired.
Nope.
I know I'm going to be lower than you, because I think I was lower than you on almost every match. I was just disappointed by some of the bigger stuff, especially the Savage tag with Hennig, Jarrett Mongo, and then I think I was just a touch lower on the other big match except for the main event. So I went 7.5, which I still think was a really good show. I just don't think it was as good as the other top end WCW pay-per-views we've had. I have this dead even with Bash, the Great American Bash, which I liked. I had Slamboree higher, Spring Stampede a little bit lower, Uncensored the same. So this is, kind of around, like, I think the baseline pay-per-views for me for WCW right now are in that 7.5 range. And then I have the couple that go higher as they get, more.
Yeah, I do have. I went 8 out of 10. I do have Slamboree higher this year. I'd probably, let me look to confirm.
Yeah, we were high on Slamboree.
I had Uncensored higher as well. So this is the third highest of the year for me, but I think it's a great show. I think there's that 20-minute span between the tag match and Mongo Jarrett that's rough. And then there's a couple of other nitpicks with the spots or finishes in the final 2 matches that you can critique that are fair, but otherwise, good variety really show, and really one of the shows that unfortunately, again, in retrospect, we may be looking back on, because I don't know, like I right offhand, I don't know of another pay-per-view from them that I will call great for a while. So this could be,
which speaks to what I was saying too. They were very much at the time unapologetically a TV company. Like, they didn't have a lot of, like, not faith, but they didn't put a lot into pay-per-view stock.
Well, I think I don't know. I think
they start putting a lot of their big stuff on TV. They really book week to week on Nitro. They hype Nitro.
Yeah, but up to this point, it's all been, to me, more emphasized on the pay-per-view.
No, I know. I think they're heading that way, which is why the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
like, Bischoff very clearly starts to say it's like a TV company. That's what he cares about, is the ratings.
So. Yeah, I think right now is, again, this is one of those, like, say what you will, but, like, right now they're a great bet on pay-per-view. So if you're a fan on the fence, like, you're having great shows on pay-per-view. On the WWF side, well,
then you look at the viewership.
Now they're putting something together.
Way bigger on TV too, though. It's like, you get 4 million people watching on TV, and you got 200,000 or 300,000 watching on pay-per-view.
Yeah, so it just changes how you want to project. But I'm definitely somebody that's pro. Like, just from my standpoint, like building, I always like building to a big show, whether that's a pay-per-view in the old territory days, your big house show, something like that over. Consistent TV is good too, but yeah.
All right, let's do our combo awards. I think in most months, Bash of the Beach probably would be pretty high on these.
Yeah.
But this is one where I think it's going to slip. Team USA, I'm sorry, Canadian Stampede is the best show. We were both higher. I think the best match to me is the USA Our Nation 10-man.
Yes.
Okay. Stampede, for the best moments.
I
St.
don't know.
You don't have the Hart family celebration. You have the Luger over that.
Well, I mean, Rodman is such a. I mean, I really do think Rodman should be in something because that was a mainstream thing. Like,
Yeah,
it was on Sports Center. It was
it's just
on.
that Hart family moment is like.
I mean,
It's like
I'd say one or
their
the
peak,
other, either
like
moment or star.
their
Moment
final
or
moments.
star. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Hart family entrance is bigger than the celebration.
Well, either way, however you want to phrase it, I think the Hart, like their peak as like a like dynasty of a wrestling, like as that's it. Like they still have good stuff, but like this is it. Like this is their top moment in wrestling history, standing tall in their home city with
yeah,
this
but
Mega Man event.
WCW, what do you think? I mean, I think you can almost argue it's a contender. Like they have chances with Goldberg and Luger in a couple of weeks, but I think like for mainstream.
Well, do you want to give Rodman the star and the Harts the moment?
I'm fine with that
because those pops and the entrances are insane. All right, so we'll give Rodman star of the night. Better commentary, Bash of the Beach. You got Dusty. Yeah. And then ratings, obviously WCW is on this one.
Canadian Stampede, 236,000 buys, 0.59 buy rate. Pretty good buy rate, actually, which we talked about the In Your House 2 hours did well with the lower price point. WCW Bash at the Beach estimated, which we talked about a little bit before the show, maybe slightly disappointing, 325,000, 0.89 buy rate. Still a big buy rate, but on par estimated with Uncensored 97, and then will obviously be
also Rodman was at that show.
Yeah, I would just in the next year. It's a little surprising that in the next year that this buy rate gets beat out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of the next 12 shows beat this buy rate.
And we said that we believe the pay-per-views aren't as good as this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, including next year's Bash at the Beach, I'll just tell you that was 580,000 buys. So,
well, 98, the whole universe expands. So, for
us, it's just crazy to think about that because that match does not feel to me bigger, even though it has Malone. But yeah, I mean, that's 580,000. So that's
the
more
wrestling,
than like
the 98
70%.
wrestling, 98 to 2000 universe grows so much. Like it just adds to a lot of this potential. So, all right. Good job, Chad. It was well done coverage on that show. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the Fallout, the July 14th week of TV. So we'll have the Fallout from this show. We'll have the continued build towards SummerSlam. Before you know, we'll be at SummerSlam. It's only a few episodes away, so we'll come quick at this point as we cruise through 97. Want to thank all that joined us here tonight. We had Mr. Sleaze, we had Ryan Everett, we had Grooney. I saw Jenny in and out. I saw Ish in and out. Anyone else?
I think that's it. Thank you,
everyone that popped in. So thanks for watching, guys, live. Check out the free Patreon. Just search Wrestling Warzone. You can join us for these live recordings every 2 weeks. You also get some drips of content here and there on top of it. But like I said, it's free. You don't have to pay for anything. So just sub up and you get notified of the live taping schedule and when these drop and all that. So subscribe to us on Connection. We appreciate your support. Smell the napalm, and we'll talk to you soon.